Somewhere around the second year of teaching elementary science, I received a call from the First Lady's office. In recognition, they said, of your outstanding science and outdoor education program, we wanted to invite you to a tour of the new White House gardens. Well, this was the career break that I had been looking for as an educator. I mean, the real reason I came to teaching, to become rich and famous. I had this dream, you see, of becoming a television science educator, sort of a Bill Nye, right? And this, if I made a good impression, would be the, really claps for Bill Nye. That's was science night, so sure. I started to get the feeling that maybe things weren't going to go as easily as I had planned when I heard from my administrators that we would be choosing the students to go on this trip through a random lottery. Now, this is a very fair and sincere way to make sure the diversity of our school was represented. It was also embarrassingly stupid. If I was going to be the next Mr. Wizard, I needed to bring my very best students. And I have good ones, like I have second language 4th grade girls who can write computer programs. I've taught 5th grade students in low-income neighborhoods to build and program their own robots. But I would not be bringing these children. I would be bringing Jeffrey. Jeffrey already in kindergarten had an excellent resume as a misbehaved child. The terror of kindergarten, I don't know how to put this exactly. He's not 100% good on pooping in the toilet. Right? So he's not exactly our show pony. Like, maybe we give him a few years of training before we run him up to the White House to show how well we're educating children. My administrators kind of double up on me also. On the way to the White House, they load up the kids before they get onto the bus with a cooler full of red juice barrels. Are you familiar with the juice barrel? It's apparently like the finest pure Colombian corn syrup sold in the pleasing hand grenade format with enough sugar to blow a child's entire mind. And we're feeding this to our kids on the way to the White House. But we get to the White House, and I learned that there is another group of guests at the White House that day. Michael Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong. Suddenly, my hopes are rejuvenated. I sort of flash forward to watching my own science program on the Discovery Channel. Science, with the guy who went to the White House and became BFFs with the most famous space explorers in history. Right, like the documentary about my rise to fame and fortune was just going to be embarrassingly short. I'm awakened from this daydream by a uniformed guard outside the White House who says, "The children need to be removed from the fence." I look up, and 2 of my students have climbed the fence of the South Lawn and are teetering by a shoelace and the hopes that physics are ignoring them. I run and sort of catch one of them sometime after pavement scrapes skin, but before sniper removes head, so I considered it something of a heroic rescue. I'm barely 1 line into my "what were you thinking" speech when I notice the rest of my students have already been ushered through security and are playing in the White House sprinklers. I also notice now that the White House security is starting to materialize from the bushes with some of the largest automatic weapons I have ever seen. I very violently pluck children from sprinkler and try to launch into the teeth-gnashingest scare speech that I have ever given. Do you see those men with those enormous machine guns? Well, they also have flamethrowers and chainsaws, and they only hate one thing: kids like you who screw around. We haven't even walked across to the gardens yet before I notice outside of the gates, 2 black Suburbans pull up. The tourists are being swept away. A dozen men in suits get out and are shouting about the presence of a suspicious package. When I squint, I can see it is a cooler full of red juice barrels that one of my 6-year-old junkies has pulled off the bus because he didn't think he could go that long without a fix. I am too embarrassed to admit that I am the responsible party. At this point, I was informed by the White House security that the First Lady would be delayed in joining us for the tour and that a staffer would be giving the tour instead. I paused for a moment to downgrade my TV hopes to an appearance on Mythbusters. Somewhere during the tour of the gardens, one of my little girls, in the heat and a steady diet of diabetes in a barrel, plops down hard on the grass. A dozen men with automatic weapons suddenly flood the scene. There's 6 more men with earpieces, 3 people on bicycles, and 0 paramedics. Who knows what a 9-year-old who just sat down is capable of? But they usher her off eventually to receive medical attention, and the rest of my group is brought back through the White House to a hallway right next to the exit to wait for her. Nothing tells you that you have worn out your welcome more than being offered the opportunity to wait by the exit. I stopped for a moment to downgrade once again, figuring that now I would be reluctantly appearing on some local news fluff piece with Sue Palka. Suddenly, I get the sinking feeling that my group has become one light. And as I start the head count among my children, I hear a phrase from the other room, "What is that smell?" One of my students has managed to not only escape from the group, but infiltrate a White House staff meeting. He has crawled under the table, but in the excitement from this adventure, he crapped his pants. I did not need to look under the table to figure out who it was. Way to pay attention. Good job. Oh, jeez. This was unfortunately the straw that broke the back of the White House staff's hospitality, and we were asked to leave. I would not be meeting the First Lady or my astronaut heroes or Sue Palka for that matter. In fact, at this point I figured I might have to duck being cornered for some lousiest teachers in DC feature piece from Pat Collins. However, with the grace and understanding of children that she is known for, we were contacted about a month later by Mrs. Obama, who apologized for not being able to meet with us and expressed an interest in coming to our science program to visit. Visions of grandeur solidly in perspective now, and the foresight to lock up the juice barrels in the boiler room. I was just happy for the opportunity to demonstrate effective science lessons. I realized that I may never have the opportunity to fake teach science to child actors on television, but for now I can settle for the real thing.